I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any additions or corrections or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Agenda, anything to add?
Move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, up first we have Mr. Frith hiding back there. Afternoon.
Afternoon. All of you should have got the packet with the petitions that were circulated in South Maniwaki and the letters that I sent to Sarah Palin and Sarah Palin, Sarah Palin at the DOT, and I also sent a copy of the petitions to the engineers that designed this whole project for the state. And the reason that I got involved, most of this project runs through South Maniwaki Township, from the rest area clear into Quality Welding, or Schmalz's is Quality Welding. That's all in South Maniwaki Township. So I get a lot of feedback from the area people, the businesses along there, and residents, the farmers, and they kept asking me what we could do. I said, well, there's not a lot we could do except make them know our feelings and bring it to them. So I thought, what better way than to get a petition, which doesn't have any legal basis, but it tells them how many people in that area are dissatisfied with the idea of putting these J-turns in. There was 2 public meetings and they were really kind of poorly attended, but they were in the wintertime. And public meetings always don't draw a lot unless people are really interested. And there wasn't a lot of advertising, so they were poorly attended. But during those meetings, these guys, the engineers, they're from Utah and Des Moines, Iowa. I kept telling them, this is a different country up here because of the winters that we have. And we're not a big city, but they couldn't get that through their head. And they kept pushing this J-turns thing. And after these meetings were over and it started circulating amongst the general population that what the plan was, then people started coming to me and expressing their feelings of dissatisfaction with this. So we put out a petition at 5 different spots, a couple businesses, a couple residents, and within 2 weeks we got this many signatures. I wanted to get it going as quickly as I could once we decided to do that. So I just waited for 2 weeks, took whatever signatures we had, and made the copies, sent them around. Well, it's been another couple weeks now since I sent these in. May 3rd, May 3rd, when I sent these in to them. I'm sure that we could have gotten another couple hundred signatures real easy, but first 200 came pretty fast. Now, I know that you guys have had some kind of a meeting with the DOT a while back, and I'm not sure what transpired. Jeff filled me in a little bit on it, but these kind of things, if you know, this project is in 2024, and if you just kind of forget about it for a little while, pretty soon everybody forgets about it. So the purpose of me coming to you guys is to remind you that this many people don't want those J-turns out there. And I don't know what we as a county can do about it. We're trying our darndest as the township to do what we can and bring it to everybody's attention, what our feelings really are. So that's the purpose of me being here.
I appreciate you coming in.
Anybody have any questions about it, why we're opposed to it? Do you
Just a-
all understand the J-turns concept?
One question, Kevin, are you just opposed because there's so many? I see way too many, but.
Well, I don't know how many J-turns they've got planned.
Wow.
They told me that there was going to be like a half a dozen.
I think that's how they presented it to us too, half a dozen.
It's a pretty long stretch. What
I
really,
got 13 here, but I don't know if they're all usable or that's what the plan is or not, I'm not sure. But this is their original map that they handed out to us.
yeah, it doesn't show it as good on there as some of the later maps that they had. There's personal opposition to it amongst citizens because they drive that thing every day. So every time that they want to go to Devil's Lake, they've got to go out on the highway, head towards Grand Forks, take a U-turn and go back. If they drive it 4 or 5 times a day, it gets aggravating. So I can understand that. That isn't such a big deal. The ones that were the most adamant about it were the people with farm machinery that utilize the corridor. When you're pulling a big air seeder with a tank and stuff behind it, it gets a little problematic no matter where you're at. One of the guys, I stopped into Otter Tail out there and talked with one of the fellows, got a couple signatures in. He said, I don't know how in the hell we're gonna make that turn safely with 75-foot pole on the back. He said, this is gonna be a little nerve-wracking for us. He said, if there's traffic coming, he said, we're gonna have to sit there alongside the highway in that J-turn thing until nobody's coming either way and then make it. He said, because they might make the intersection big enough to make the turn, but he said, we're gonna have to swing out way farther than that. And then I did quite a bit of driving for Dakota Petroleum last year, hauling big propane tanks. And I think you guys are familiar with Dakota Petroleum. He came up here. Okay. I had one tank on the back, and it was the trailer was longer than the tank. The tank was 75 feet long, and to make that turn into one of those places, to make a Louis like that, you'd never make it. You'd be running over the curb on the left. They'd have to really make it huge. And then, of course, if any of you ventured out that way this winter and saw what those intersections were like, we had to take a run a lot of times to get through them. They just don't get them cleaned the way they should. I know they aren't gonna happen the same day as the storm. So then what do you do?
And what are you gonna, I see the same concern as when are they gonna pull the poles around there when they start snapping and that hollow with that snow that's high, you know?
They were gonna meet with us again this summer, right?
Yeah, we expressed pretty much
But you have.
what you have to that one when we visited with them previously. You know, farm equipment, obviously, any kind of long taking, pulling stuff out of high plains when they've got to go back and forth, obviously, when they got a combine on or something. And they listened to us. I don't know if we are gonna make any progress, but at least they sat and listened to us. They did express that they would like to meet with us again, but in a smaller form. So, I've talked with Chad Horn, who was one of the project guys who was here. And we'd like to get something together with the township, with people that live out along the run there, you know, probably maybe a dozen people total, something like that, so that you can face-to-face express your concerns and get them to them. And then, like I said, I don't know if we'll necessarily make any progress, but it can't hurt to try to get that accomplished.
Absolutely. Those are the same people that they invited to these early meetings that didn't show up, but, you know, residents don't really, it doesn't really concern them. Whatever happens,
Yeah.
then they're gonna what? You know,
No.
the big change.
Yeah, well, my thought was if, you know, I'm kind of coordinating it to a point, is if we could get the township officers, you know, maybe, some of the farmers along the run, Ackerman, since he's got his resort out there, Swenson has some High Plains, you know, kind of that group of people, that'll be probably a dozen of us or so, and we can really explain, you guys will have a time and a chance to really hear what your concerns are.
Like the power company, know that.
Yeah, Nodak, Otter Tail,
They're all along there. I think they'd be very
Yeah, they'd be,
watchful.
that'd be good too.
I got Warren's number right here. They seem,
When that does
they
start.
seem to listen to our concerns.
When that does start to come forward, if you contact me, I can contact those really concerned people out there in the businesses. I can, run that part for you.
Okay, well, that'd be fantastic. I'm trying to coordinate something for probably middle of June timeframe area.
Okay.
So I'll find a date that works with the people from Bismarck to come up, and then I'll visit with you and we can try to get something coordinated so we can get you guys face to face with them.
Yeah, excellent. This year, it's probably better to edge it towards the end of June.
Yeah, I know. My goal, Kevin, was to try to do it in late April, early May, and then time just got away from me.
We don't want to miss any of those summer days though.
Yeah, this is,
They're pretty
crazy
limited.
here.
Yeah, we'll shoot probably closer to the end or something.
Yeah, that'd be excellent.
Okay.
They'll probably listen a whole lot more to people from the township than they will to anybody because those are the people that are utilizing it.
Well, that was kind of our thought here when we visited with them initially and kind of came up with the idea of a second meeting was if the people along that route, if we can keep it contained to a small amount of people, with the ones that are gonna use it consistently and have concerns with it, that's gonna get a lot more across to them than a big public meeting with 100 people there.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll be in contact with you then and
Okay.
Jeff will work with you.
Mr. Chairman, Kevin, if I could, the primary concern for DOT and how the engineers are explaining this is they want to improve safety, reduce.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we all do. That's the primary concern, and that's one of the reasons why the commission years back approached them to make some changes in that corridor. They seem convinced on the J-turns are the best way to do that. I think the township, I think it would be beneficial if they had different ideas on how to improve safety through that corridor to, other than the J-turns, have options for DOT coming forward. And so maybe the engineers can take a look at that and say, yeah, that may be a good idea, we could implement that idea instead of the J-turns. I think some of those ideas would be very beneficial. I think we expressed those ideas to them when we discussed it with them here, and I think.
Well, we talked speed reductions, we talked maybe on-ramp, off-ramp, on-ramp type situations
Yeah.
where you'd have some time to speed up to get onto the lane. We talked additional frontage roads, so maybe you could reduce access points, but you could put some frontage roads in, so people would still have the opportunity to drive the way they wanted, but there'd just be less spots to cross the highway, kind of an idea, so.
There are excessive
Oh, yeah.
roads going on to the highway out there,
Yeah.
and some of them can be eliminated. It might mean somebody in a subdivision driving 300 feet down to get out on the highway, which isn't a big problem, really.
Yeah, and I think,
Realignment to those ones that are hitting it at 45.
yeah, and they're gonna realign those, I think that's an automatic in the project, so, I mean, we've expressed a lot of the same concerns and concepts with them too, and they seemed as though at least they were listening.
They were receptive.
Yeah, they were receptive to it, I don't know if it's gonna make any difference, but at least they were willing to listen.
Certainly, we certainly hope so. I think that's the mission of everybody locally anyway, is improve safety, but not necessarily with J-turns.
I agree with Jeff. I think that if you're gonna try to get them convinced, it's gotta come back with how you're gonna fix it by safety. You know, I think that's part of the reason why they're trying to do this is for safety, but like I said, to get rid of some of the getting onto the highway, there's a lot less, you're gonna increase a lot more safety.
Agree.
So working together, I think we can work something out. So,
Yeah,
Okay, well, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'll give you a call at some point.
Very good.
Very good, thanks Kevin, appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, we're gonna go from one Kevin to another Kevin. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Yes. All right, first, road updates, which is dismal. We probably have, up to 10 now lockouts that we have to fix on our old system, and I have no idea how many on township, but I would guess up to 40. of washouts. So it's big, it's probably bigger than it was in 11 as far as culvert washouts, and I think we need to hope for a disaster to get help to pay. A lot of these aren't high dollar ones, but it's still a matter of, they're gonna add up fast.
Especially if we have to replace the culvert, right? Are we even gonna have enough culverts to do it?
Yeah, I ordered like 3 semi-loads, because they got there already, so.
I mean,
Culverts everywhere.
every time we drop just, right, what's the standard for running across the township road now? Probably 24 inch in most places.
Yeah, it's kind of an unwritten rule, if it's just equalizing the water, it's an 18, but if there's actually water flowing, then they go to 24.
And most of those places that are washed out are 24, so every time we're gonna drop a 24 or larger inch culvert, we're talking, what, $3,000-4,000 just to get across the road on a culvert, I'm sure.
Yeah, pretty close by the time you get it installed.
Yeah, so 40 washout spots, 40 culverts, yeah, it's only 150 grand.
And some will be a little bit more, because of gravel too.
You know, gravel costs and the time of the guys putting it in.
We don't have enough labor to try to rent a backhoe and do some of them ourselves.
I did talk to Ironhide about renting one of theirs, and our culverts never showed up in time, so we had canceled it, but they have got 2 of them there. Get it if we need it. I think we've only got one site where we're gonna need more reach. We've got our backhoe, but it won't. Some of them, this one's 40-45 feet wide open space, and we just can't get to the other side
Right.
of what we got. Then I sent most of you an email that said, that I ordered some culverts for Ramsey 10 and Ramsey 9. And the way that turns out, those are just gonna be temporary ones, because if there gets to be a federal disaster, to help pay for our federal aid roads, FEMA doesn't pay for our federal aid roads, but normally there's a federal disaster, or ER sites, emergency relief sites. And if we do those, they have to have hydraulic studies, like, you know, we do for our bridges. And every one of these, we got 3 of them. 9 by Derek, on 4 by Bridges, and on 9 or 10 by Karski. And all 3 of them are gonna have 4 times the size culverts in them. Which is gonna be a shocker for the people that live downstream. So we'll be able to save the culverts that we do put in, but typically that doesn't happen until these ER sites don't get approved until early fall, so they end up being a next year project.
Yeah, we can't afford to not get the roads back over there.
So that's why we're gonna put these temporary ones in for now, and then if we get the disaster, then we'll be redoing them, those 3, but at least it'll be federally paid for then.
Like up on 10, what do you temporary, how much you gonna put in then? Oh,
3, we're gonna put 3-footers in there.
smooth inside?
I know they'll be, just, yeah,
Coordinated.
and then we'll be able to reuse those with a site on 9. Just doing a preliminary, assessment on it, is gonna take 3 of those 36-inch culverts, so theoretically, we'll be able to use them on that site.
These ones we're gonna temporarily put in there, they're gonna be here next spring and be in use, right?
Right.
There's no way we're gonna change them again this fall. We won't get that done.
I would say no, I don't think we'll be able to get the money quick enough. We have to, get an engineering firm, and we have to solicit reviews, and we have to interview and advertise, and go through all those hoops, so. That's why they generally say it's gonna take till next spring to get anything done. I mean, it's just so many hoops you have to jump through. So what I ordered for this, I don't remember how much it was now, anyway, those are gonna be just temporary now, but they're actually the same size as what's in there today. So it's not downsizing, it's not upsizing. So for next spring, it'll be,
So we'll be in the same situation we are now next.
Like on 10 and 4, do you think the water's gonna go all the way past the road? I mean, basically dry up on like the north side of Ken and the east side on Full.
It's inside the banks now, I don't know if it'll dry up, but it's going down.
It'd be going down quite a bit, so it'd be at a point here, probably not before long, we'll be able to work on these culverts
Right,
without high water.
yeah, in fact, you can see the culverts now on all
Yeah,
of them, the water's down that far. Yeah.
Still pretty good flow though, right?
Yeah, it's still, the pipes are still handling full water, but you know, there's probably a 2 to 3 foot built dirt on top of all of them, so it's gone down that much. We were supposed to have the culverts by Monday, yesterday, but they didn't show up yet, so, but, you know, they're supposed to be here soon, put it that way.
been able to line up any help, I mean, as far as contractors
We can't even get contractors because the townships are all
grabbing
in
them.
the same boat, yeah. And you almost gotta let them, help them too, you know,
Right.
they won't be able to get.
If they get all, you know, all these townships are putting in for this, these grants on these roads, if they get that, we have to find a contract in 2 years.
Us, we, you know, we've got extra trucks, we can hire part-time drivers, but you know, it's even hard to find part-time drivers, I'm sure you're all aware. CDLs. So we'll see how that goes. And then part of that, I did hire a part-time help, one, Nick is gonna help us mow, but if we need him to drive a truck, we'll have one more truck. So just, so you know, I did hire a part-time employee for this. He's got a CDL and everything. So. Yeah, it's gonna be a steady report to you, because it's gonna be a moving target all summer long, or at least for the next couple months.
Yeah.
I mean, things are gonna happen fast, so there's gonna be times when I'll be doing stuff without the $2,000 limit thing.
Like there's 4, 9, and 10, is there roads, alternative routes for people to use that aren't too bad?
Yeah, you know, as long as they don't get them big heavy loads on them, but the car traffic, pickup traffic, they're fine for that, but nobody's really hauling grain yet either, so
Right.
we're busting our butts to get hard open again. We started on Bridges, we probably got that one half filled by now on 4 of the pavement.
Okay,
That's probably half full. Today, we'll be able to work on it tomorrow. It'll be 3/4 full and then rain again, so we'll see where we go from there.
Which culverts blew up there? I haven't driven up there to look at it because they just opened 3 the other day, so I
North
had to
of
take that
that
way to
box.
get north.
Yeah,
north of where the box culvert's going,
north of the bridge,
It
yeah.
wasn't the actual bridge.
No,
north of there.
It's like a 60-inch arch.
Oh, I know where yeah, okay, where it crosses over on the, yeah.
Yep, that one.
There's a
That
lot
one
of,
went
there's a
down.
lot of water moving through that area.
Oh, God.
And that hole was probably 40, close to 40 feet wide and 5, 6 foot deep. So, I mean, it takes a massive amount of material to, and the load limits are on, and it's just, everybody that's fixing holes is fighting the same battle right now.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to use certified pits in order to get money federal dollars, so we gotta either get the pit certified in advance or use certain pits. Just another hoop we gotta jump through. If
Where's
we don't use a certified pit, they won't,
Can't get repaid on the fill,
nothing.
you got one up close to there? No.
No, it's on 3 down by Donnie Olson, so it's not far
huh?
away.
It's not horrible, that's,
Right,
it's 20 miles round trip at least.
yeah.
I can jump up.
So we're struggling to find pits also. Like I said, it's a moving target, and it's gonna reports at the every meeting, just to try and keep up with things.
With Soper's, not in business any longer, is there anybody filling that gap?
Not yet, other than like Greg Close or Gowan, you know. Close has stepped up and taken on a few of the jobs.
Yeah,
And of course, that work depends on his work schedule, you know. He's got a lot of trucks and a lot of drivers. With these holes, you almost have to have end dumps until you get a lane across, you can't dump a side dump until you've got a lane across. A belly dump is practically worthless. So you almost need the end dump trucks to fill the holes.
Creating a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, like in 2010, we had a lot of these washouts, but they only washed out the gravel, and you can still drive across them with a belly dump trailer or whatever. Where these are big, big holes in the ground. Huge holes in the ground.
Where's the pit up at 10? How far away is that? That you can haul in there, certified pit?
Yeah, there's still, we've got the one by Olson's again, but then there's one by, I think the last name, a little bit further west.
So you guys hauling in clay and then gravel or?
Yeah, just because there's so much.
Yeah, because you said there's, yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's not just fill the hole either, it's fill and pack and fill and pack and fill and pack and do it right.
Exactly.
It takes time.
I could build a head wall across the end and then either build another head wall and pump the water or else just keep forcing the water out, Those are the two choices you got.
On top of the fact you guys have all the other work you needed to do.
Right,
that's where we got
any
scheduled,
cracks
so.
sealed that, no. I'm really thinking about not doing any bridges this year because we're so far behind. We were gonna tear out 3 bridges this year. That would have been the end of them, but I think we'll maybe save them till next year.
They're in pretty good shape. I mean, they're all right for
Well,
now.
the positive, those, they're not highly, we're down to the ones that aren't very highly traveled, they're hardly traveled at all, so we gotta skip those to make sure we get the travel roads open, that's the way to go.
Alright. And the soft start spots are starting to show up again, I'm sure you're aware, so we'll have to do something with, stop and do something with those also, so.
Well, you know you're gonna start hearing, phone calls left and right on blading.
Oh, it's already started.
It is, wow.
We're a month behind on that, so that's like, say, that's a different crew, that's like 6 different guys that are helping with the roads, so that helps a little. We're not pulling them off to
Yeah.
help us. Yeah.
No,
No, I don't know.
it's
I
like,
know the roads are in rough shape right now.
it's like trying to eat the elephant, just one bite at a time. You can't look at the whole thing, you just gotta take it one day at a time. Keep making progress.
Hope we don't get 3-4 inch rain.
Correct, yes. He was asking, do we have a state of emergency? Yeah, we declared our emergency, but we still have to wait for the presidential disaster declaration to occur if it does occur. Otherwise, our declaration is, we can access local dollars that we have stowed away, but other than that, there's no federal dollars to back it up until there's presidential disaster declaration of rural FEMA dollars.
The state is really anticipating federal, because we got all the flooding on the Red River and all.
Well, the governor hasn't done one yet either, but I think he's waiting for the
Right.
disaster declaration.
Right, all the power lines out west, they qualify for FEMA.
If, I don't know how it can't be
Right.
with what we've had this spring.
Well, I thought the governor declared one, but
Okay. He was missed it.
but it's, coming up quick with trying to assess everything, and our water isn't gonna be down yet. So, because it was a winter disaster one, right? And he's kind of incorporating everything into one,
Yeah.
but I think it was, a short turnaround and trying to,
Yeah, 'cause I'm pretty sure he did because some of the cattle farmers will get some help west. But
that could be a different one,
Yeah, but it is.
though.
And that goes along with the presidential also, so they're probably anticipating it or something.
Trying to tie in some different disasters all into one.
Yeah, and there's different disaster declarations too, because like the USDA can release CCC dollars without a presidential disaster declaration, because I think they've already done that for some of the cattle ranchers, and there's different avenues, but it's just plain and simple, been a really, really tough spring for a lot of different.
Once in a while, we do see the federal disaster without a FEMA disaster too. So we can get that, but it's just a lot easier when there is a FEMA disaster.
Okay,
All right,
keep us informed as we go, I guess.
will do. We need to order a new chain and sprocket for our big sand spreader, and that's gonna cost $3,012.47. Motion for that expenditure.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve, ordering chain and sprockets for the sand spreader. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
And then, Mark will tell us in line of seeing our building a subdivision or something of that sort, just east of Devil's Lake here on the north side. So they wanna put an approach in there. It's just about, 600-700 feet west of the house, the farm that's there. So, and I don't see any problem with it. So they fill out their paperwork, so.
Gonna be south side of the road?
North
side of the road. Oh, in the pasture out there.
West of Chuck Singer's.
Oh, okay. So does the city have to approve that as well then, since it's
I'm gonna let them know.
extraterritorial?
I don't know, to be quite honest with you, but we'll let them know.
Do they know, obviously, you know, what we're requiring, so we can, take care of those roads later, so we don't run into that issue?
Yeah, it says right on the permit.
Okay.
And Midland, who's doesn't do hardly anything anymore, is putting it in, so they'll do a good job.
Okay, I guess we need a motion to approve allowing that, permit.
So move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow a permit for an approach on the north side of Ramsey County 2, about 8 mile east of Elks Drive. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
And the last thing I have is, that road mileage certification that we do every other year. We have, gotten all the paperwork back from all the townships, so, it requires a signature from the chairman. So I need a motion for the chairman.
And move to allow the chairman to sign.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to have the chairman sign the township road mile certification. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
And all of them, or something like that.
Just a couple things, I guess. So we got the signed environmental document back from the DOT, the box culvert on County 4 on the May 2nd. And then, Corps of Engineers has to issue the 404 permit, so they got that in their report. And as soon as we get that back, we should be able to get that off the bids. And we have to have that back 2 months before the opening, so it wouldn't be like tomorrow, but it'll be around pretty quickly. And Ramsey County 3, we have a pre-job with Mayo Construction next Tuesday at 10 with DOT. That is on their schedule over, they're planning on putting signs up June 1st with the rules to follow. And then paving June 27th through July 1st, and then the last of the striping should be done a month ahead of completion date. So that's July 7th is their tentative completion date now. And then the contract completion date is August 6th, so it shouldn't impact harvest at least.
Okay.
And I guess related to the ER declaration for emergency relief on the federal aid roads, we need $700,000 damage in the Devil's Lake Basin for it to qualify, and then there's a statewide one as well. There's 3 other basins, but those don't affect us here. So I think are they looking for estimates? I think get some of that stuff.
We did send the estimates for emergency work, not the permanent.
Okay.
And they have the statewide, they'll meet easily because they have a slide out west for $7 million or something. We just need one for our district, our basin.
Yeah. And then I guess they got the flood map on the parcel deed was really nice on the website. You can see the pictures of everything. It was nice that the county added that. Must be you.
Chris does the file.
Okay.
And Steve Moll.
Yeah, and Steve is putting it on the map.
Yeah.
Chris does the file, Steve puts it on the map.
That's both.
It was really useful when it was hot and heavy there for a while, and you did, I mean, things were closing quick, and it was nice real quick to be able to look and go, okay, what's going on now, everything.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. It makes it clear for the public if they're watching out there, click on the top of the Ramsey County website.
Yeah, there was a time, right after 3 closed, there was no way to get, and then we had all that rain that Saturday, there was no way to get across to the north end of the county on a 4 was a soup. That's where all the gravel was, and crap sakes. I almost had to send my in-laws around all the way to Dakota and north, because no way to get around.
Yeah, if you've been on their parcel viewer, there's some awesome pictures of those washouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna,
Yeah.
he's gonna come and pull some up.
Well, when 20 went underwater, that, I think Jeff shared that, they had a really good video. Aerial view of what was going on. Yeah, it was interesting. Okay, anything else?
Well, just
Well, if he gets it going, we can take a look at it.
Yep. Yeah, he's
Working on.
Look at that,
Working on
he's
it.
jumping in, he's taking care of it.
And working his magic.
Yeah.
Big brother.
All the red dots are real close.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot on there that
Aren't, even over there, yeah.
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of township roads that, it's, that we can put on there.
When you see the little camera,
Yeah, it's a really useful information out there. So,
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, that'll do it.
yeah.
There was a video too that they did of.
So what are the, I guess I haven't been on it for a couple of days, what are the blue lines then? That's where there's, there must be water,
That's
underwater,
underwater.
completely water. Wow. Yeah.
Been busy.
The show there, here. And look at that.
it's a baby one.
Yeah, that's a baby one.
Well, I know that is a
Yeah.
big one, yeah. It'd be a little scary if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Were these culverts froze? What caused it to do that?
I'm thinking, my theory is they found the frost line,
Oh.
got the head going. Every one of them had a head going, and they found that frost line.
Yeah, that's 3 right
That's
there.
three.
I'm amazed that 3's in as good a shape as it was, considering how fast that water was coming over the top of the road. I thought that west embank inslope would be kind of inclined, but it actually held in pretty good since the grass is pretty good out there. Where's that at now?
Where is 10?
Phone's 9.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And 9.
So 9 was just a 24-inch culvert, and that's how big a hole showed up. That's a culvert down inside the hole.
That's the end of the culvert, huh? Holy man.
I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that the historic amount of precipitation in the upper basin. You know, we're trying to figure out the reasons why this happened, you know, and frost and this and that. Yeah, and a lot of it is 600 to 700% normal precipitation.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know Greg Gust was working on presidential disaster declaration information and he asked for my measurements and it was just about 7 inches of liquid precipitation between April 1st and May 9th.
Yeah, the average over that time would be maybe what, 3/4 inch or?
3/4 inch, maybe a little over an inch, you know.
That's just.
Yeah. So, and he's hearing those kind of reports from weather monitors all across the basin, so. Yeah. Really easy to see why.
Yeah, we've really never had precipitation like this in April. I mean, very seldom does it occur like this.
09 was one of those years.
Yeah.
You know, we had 2 inches of rain on frozen ground kind of thing, but not 7 inches, you know.
Yeah, those two were very busy.
Yeah.
Well, it's good, it's all
Lots
documents.
of comments on
Mhm.
the website.
That's
and
been
what-
useful,
how
people
they- yeah,
enjoyed it, good.
yeah.
Good.
Well, that's good
I
that we
think
have a
the
good website we can do it.
state, did he say the state shared some aerial pictures that they took?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
aerial is
yeah.
20 up, yeah, on there.
Oh, good thing about that is it gets some attention too.
Well, it's just good to have good documentation of all this too, because I mean, when you gotta go back to the disaster declaration stuff, you've got all the documentation with pictures, and you can show this is what we're dealing with.
Hmm.
It's pretty easy to make a justification real quick. That, you know, need a little help here.
Yeah, like I say, when you take a picture of a hole, they all look the same, but when you get up in the air like that, it's like a whole new perspective.
Mhm.
Well, just the amount of water out there was just,
It's incredible.
I drove across 20 right before they closed it, or not closed it, before they were just pounding the side stakes in when I was driving across it, because as far as you could see, it was just water. It's like driving across a, 2 inches across the Talbot Lake.
You know,
It's crazy. The plus side, at least it's slowing, at least right now, it's slowing down. We can catch a break. So. Okay, very good. Anything else? No. Great, thank you, appreciate it. All right, we'll move into unfinished business, drug and alcohol testing policy. I believe there were copies on our desk. Here, probably.
Let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, drugs, and when we can test for them. So, the old policy's there for your review as well. Bottom line is, policy we had was unconstitutional under Supreme Court decisions. So we can do random, there's two different rules essentially. Random drug testing and reasonable suspicion drug testing. Okay, we didn't do anything with the reasonable suspicion. If you have a reason to think that somebody is using drugs or is impaired, that stays the same. But for random, you can only randomly drug test people if they're either in the DOT pool, which means they have a CDL or operate machinery, or if they're safety sensitive. I've read a lot of opinions and a lot of policies, and nobody has a great definition of safety sensitive. It's kind of,
like you sent one for you.
yeah, pretty much.
Bottom line is, if somebody, if they were distracted, could cause harm to themselves or others. That's basically what a safety sensitive position. We added a definition in there, we added a compliance statement. For purposes of this, it's right above testing guidelines, it says substance use testing, that's the bulk of where we added. Brian and I also cleaned up a few language spots. Instead of saying supervisor, now it says supervisor or designated county employee. So, and that's mainly for small departments, so 2-person department. Supervisor, it says, oh, you're using drugs, let's go get tested. Now they don't have to shut down their whole department, somebody else can go on their behalf and coordinate that testing. So, you asked and we answered. Any questions about it?
The only question I have is, so are public entities such as the county versus the private entity treated differently under the case law?
Yes.
Okay, because I've seen lots of private entities are still doing pre-employment drug screening and things like that, and they're within the law at that point, but we aren't because we're a public entity.
Correct. So, when
Why
you,
are they treating us different?
when you're a public government agency, different rules apply. That's basically what it comes down to. It's not a great answer.
But the Fourth Amendment's still the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure, correct?
That's true, but when you work at a private business, you have the ability to run your business how you want.
Can we,
Interesting.
first time they're checked, and if they're positive, we declare it?
They're subject to it. It leaves it open-ended on a policy
Why?
because there might be people who are tested that we don't want to fire right away. It's a situation by situation. It gives the HR professional and the supervisor the ability to work out a plan. It's basically what it comes down to. And I should say, anybody who's considered safety sensitive still gets drug tested before employment. So like,
So you want us to pass something that has no teeth in it at all?
well, you have 2 options. You can have an unconstitutional policy and get sued by your
No, I
employees.
understand that. But you want us to pass this policy that has no teeth in it, I said.
It's the same as it was.
We were just, freeway all the time, that much.
If you look at paragraph 5 under testing guidelines, any refusal or positive test, you're subject to being terminated. Doesn't say you have to be terminated, you can be.
Who has to make that determination? Commission? Oh, their supervisor or what?
Yeah, I would assume they're their supervisor, and if they would want additional information, they work before formal hold hours.
And the next steps come to the commission.
Yeah, if they can't make a determination, I suppose.
These tests ever result in false positives?
I don't know any of the background of
Any
the
of
test.
the background of the testing?
They split the test, so if they have to, they can test it a second time.
Tested a second time?
That was true backups.
Kevin, is this workable?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, legal wise, it probably is, but the definition of safety sensitive, that's right. Good company. Of course, he says there's no good definition, so there we are.
My question is if there's, so when we define safety sensitive?
Yeah, it's in there if you go
Yeah.
to just above testing
Substance.
guidelines.
Okay.
I mean, just for instance, I mean, not picking on anybody, but if you handle millions of dollars every day, are you safety sensitive? Probably not. I don't know.
Correct. Under the case law, you're not considered safety sensitive.
But, okay, you
I
have
don't
a
know.
question. Would you wanna know if your millions of dollars will disappear? I'm just talking out loud here.
Well, at that point though, I mean, that would fall, I would assume if we had an office worker that essentially never drove a vehicle, wasn't safety sensitive from that perspective, but they came to work whether either on drugs or actively in that state, at that point, it's a reasonable suspicion, and then we can test anyway. Because I'm gonna pick on you.
Okay.
If Candy came to work and she was high on meth or something, I think you see that. I would hope, at least, and then there would be reason suspicion to test. But,
Work would be good.
so basically what's changing is that we can't pre-employment test unless they're safety sensitive.
Essentially, that's the bottom line.
And individuals that are not safety sensitive within the county, under our parameters, under our definition, will never get tested unless we have a reasonable suspicion.
Reasonable suspicion, get in an accident, drive a county vehicle, damage county property, those are all testable
Yes.
things.
And, I mean, to me, under our definition of safety sensitive, anybody that could at any point in time drive a vehicle
Correct.
is safety sensitive, because they could cause injury or death to somebody in the public. So anybody that could drive a county vehicle should be possibly tested randomly
It gives us the ability
to do so.
and cases all over the United States, they're kind of goofy. Things that have been upheld as safety sensitive include, law enforcement, that's a big one. Payload operators, waste management people, but we've also seen it go the other way. Sometimes janitors are considered safety sensitive because they work with chemicals, or people who service, say, the roof, hot tar, kick a bucket of hot tar off the roof. That could be a bad day for somebody. So it's kind of nebulous, and we didn't put everyone down the line because we don't necessarily want to hem ourselves in. We don't want somebody to look at the policy and say, oh, I can use drugs now. We don't want it to go that way either. So probably sounds like a bunch of lawyer double talk, but
Sure, glad you said that.
hey, I grew up in a blue collar household too, so I know that it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm also not on the Supreme Court, so I don't get to.
Well,
Is that right with it, Kevin?
Yeah, I don't know how we change it to make it any different, to be quite honest.
but then at the end of the day, if I would hope that our employees have an understanding that if we have, we still have reasonable suspicion guidelines. So, and if all you have to do is document that reasonable suspicion, and if you document it and say we need a drug test, and they refuse the drug test, at that point, there is the option of termination because they won't do the drug test. And it's in our guidance and our guidelines, correct?
Yep, and just to put your mind at ease, Kevin, your department's pretty much every single person is
Oh, yeah,
subject to
in
testing.
fact, they all have CDL, so yeah.
You
A
don't
lot of
test,
questions for mine.
you don't test commissioner, do you?
Unless you want me to. I don't test anybody.
Well, what would we like to do? Would we like to pass it tonight, or would we like to have a week or 2 weeks to look at it, or what would we like?
When you're talking of probable suspicion, what do you mean by that? Because that can go a long way too.
So reasonable suspicion in a legal world, that means something more than a hunch. So I can't say, Lane's off today, let's test him. Did you stumble? Did I smell something? Did you come late?
No different than like when the police officer pulls you over,
They need to have some reason to do it.
basically the same rules.
Yep, same definition across.
And they have training, I've been through training courses that help you identify, like, medical or whatever.
And there's some telltale signs too.
We do.
I think the reality is we're probably not gonna have a lot of problems with the drug side of it, and it's more the alcohol side of it. It's where it's gonna pop up, we went out and had a vendor last night coming in and still coming down. Well, if I can smell it on you, that's reasonable suspicion. Done. But you're trying to avoid saying this is random, you're being tested when it's not random. That's the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I like the concept too of having some ability for the department head as well as the HR to work to try to figure out what to do. Simply because if it's a one-time occurrence where somebody did something and came in, we don't wanna automatically throw the book at them necessarily if they've been a quality long-term employee and it was a one-time mistake, let's work with them. If it's a consistent problem, well, then we know what has to happen.
HR's all right with this?
Yeah, and then also in there, just because you touched on it, it talks about employee assistance program too, helping people get their situations in order and basically we're trying to do the right thing by everybody here.
Basically, we almost have to do it to protect us.
I'll move the way approved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the updated policy, new policy for drug and alcohol-free workplace, which is number 716 in the employee manual handbook, whatever you'd like to call it. Further discussion?
Would you change the effective date to the 17th? Up top?
Good call.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
We're good?
okay, hearing no further discussion, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, new business. Site authorizations, we have 4 of them. 1 in our packet, and 3 on the desk, so we.
Move the approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all the site authorizations. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Raffle permits.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the raffle permits. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Quotes from Senior Meals and Services that was in the package.
I think everything's in place, right?
What's that?
Everything looks good.
Yeah, that's the information that
Happy, sign up.
Kathy had sent.
So the scope of the project is brand new flooring in the washroom area and then brand new dishwashers.
Put the floor down and put it in the dishwasher.
Is that, I think you said previously, is the dishwasher original to the facility?
Or
So
that's
it's
true.
probably like 40 something.
Yeah.
When was the facility open?
I'm not sure.
The old dishwasher, does the old dishwasher still work?
Oh, yeah, that still works.
It's pretty well
So
shut
did
down.
they do this already?
No, not yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
This is what,
29,604.34 would be the total
it says
bid.
kitchen flooring, plumbing,
And removal of stoves.
removal
and
of
everything, that's what-
stoves.
Hook up and on hook and.
Yeah, so pretty much, everything.
And flooring.
For commercial dishwashers and the total flooring, that's actually not that bad. Plenty of money, but it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, I want to Grand Forks.
Okay. Questions, I guess? Discussion?
And we'd be looking to pay this out of that ARPA money?
We were gonna take it out of the, our money candy.
The original COVID money?
We have, since we had, what is all,
Oh, wait,
Towner.
Town-
Foot care clinic thing?
yeah,
Yeah. Towner
Like-
did that.
but we've given some of that money to the senior meals here to function,
Okay.
to continue the foot clinic,
Right.
but there is still money in there from past.
like enough to cover it.
There's $80,500.
That's good.
Well, move to approve the,
Yeah, so you can either take it all out of there, you can take it half out of there, half out of COVID,
They just take it all out of there right now.
whatever you want.
Well, because since they're even doing the foot care, it was set aside for something like that anyway.
Jeff, you made a motion, you wanna take it all out of that fund?
all out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forewarning, they're gonna do some windows there and a little lobby, outside windows. and I think they had 1,000 or 10,000 on that. So that's coming later, so.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay, was it 29,000 and change for 604 to this, for the senior center for dishwasher and renovation project out of the foot care clinic fund.
Needless to say, they're very appreciative.
Further discussion?
We appreciate what they do.
Yeah.
Provide great service, so.
And I think what I'll have her do is, once she receives the bill, to just bring it to me and I'll kind of check in. Cause it might come in.
That'll work.
Okay, so do we want to do this as roll call since the money's, or is it just approving the expenditure?
Yeah.
Wait till they get it done.
Yeah,
Maybe we
yeah.
Okay, we're approving the overall bid idea and then
Yeah.
we'll pay for it later once
Yeah.
it comes in. Okay?
Yep.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Portfolios and board appointments. Hold on here. Here. So do we have a specific list of what we need to do or not do, or?
Let me see. North Central Planning, where's my notes? Planning Commission hasn't met.
Okay,
Reorganization and Annexation Board hasn't met. North Central Planning, she said their next meeting is June.
okay. And they meet quarterly, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
and she doesn't have a specific date yet, but she said she'll email me. Lake Region Heritage Center, she just sent an email today that they have a meeting, next Wednesday.
When do they have their meeting? What time generally?
Wednesday, the 25th at 5:30.
That's a Wednesday. Do they generally stick to that schedule?
No,
So it's kind of just whenever they can
Yeah.
make it work. Everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
and Dakota Prairie, that they meet in July.
Yeah, they're quarterly as well. Okay, and is that an indefinite appointment as well? Or is that a term?
No. There's no term.
Okay. And that's everything we have to fill in. For outside appointments. Okay. I guess the question in front of the commission would be, do we want to fill those spots with current commissioners, or do you know, how would you like to handle it, I guess? You know, there's gonna be one or two new commissioners, or would Lisa like to take those on instead, or we've got all kinds of options.
Lisa?
Well,
Obviously, I'm not gonna take any because I won't be here come December 1st, so.
Just take them till.
till the end. I mean, you want me to take them until?
Did you, all right?
Yeah,
All right with it?
yeah, I will.
I think it's
will.
simple.
Okay,
I mean, because we're gonna have, I mean, once the commission, has new members at that point, you're gonna, everybody, you have to reshuffle boards at that
Right.
point anyway.
okay.
So,
Just Band-Aid along, remember, good enough.
You're just talking the three then, right?
yeah, reorg and annexation isn't gonna meet. NCPC probably is only gonna meet once or twice before a new commission.
But just
Okay.
so that she knows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you sound.
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I'll notify.
Okay,
Dakota
yep,
Prairie Community Action will only be a couple of meetings, probably. The one that'll meet the most will be the Heritage Center, I would guess, because I think they meet monthly.
And that might fluctuate too with
okay.
activities and whatever else she had going on there.
I didn't have that planned, but you seem like you were willing.
Okay, Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah, got it. Try it.
There only might be one meeting before
yeah. It's quite possible, one maybe two.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't gonna throw too much on you either.
No, that's fine.
That type of thing's going on.
That's fine. That's fine.
Do we want a motion of the commission to do that, or?
That'd be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, to just,
So,
yeah.
the second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to have, what am I supposed to call you in your role now? Should I call you commissioner slash treasurer, DSEP,
All right.
to take those, 4 boards temporarily through the end of, or until December 1st, I guess, or December, whatever the first, meeting is. Okay, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Portfolios. Obviously, since I've slid over to the chair, I've taken on the auditor, human resource emergency management, and VSO. If it's fine with everybody, I could just take all the portfolio stuff, because I think it would be a little weird.
Yeah,
Obviously, you being a department head, having to oversee other department heads.
it would, and I just assume
Yeah, and
not do that.
I'll be more than, if it's fine with everyone,
Yeah,
I'll just
I
take
would
all the
appreciate
portfolios and just handle them, that's fine. Unless anybody, for some reason, wants to take one of the ones that I currently have, but otherwise, I'd be more than happy to handle it.
Did we talk about the state's attorney falling under the chairman?
I think since I already have the state's attorney at this point, if portfolios want to be reshuffled, the new commission. We had Bo had mentioned it to me as well as Candy, that maybe it would be reasonable at some point to have the state's attorney under the chair, just because the state's attorney has so many things that have to run through the chair when it comes to the legal stuff, like drug policy or almost anything.
makes sense.
So, and the thought process was maybe, and the new commission, when it's seated, can make that decision, but maybe pull maybe like the veteran service or something and put it under the other, and just swap in state's attorney for VSO or something like that.
I just really wanna work with Blaine next go around, so.
There you go. Okay, we need a motion for that as well? Or since I'm just taking them, I'm just taking them.
If you wanna hand anything off, I mean, I only have those 2, so I could take.
Well, if you'd like, I've been on highway department the whole time, so I'd stay there, but if you'd like to take county agent, that would be fine.
I'll go back on county agent.
Yeah, because you've been there before, so you can, no problem filling in.
Certainly.
Okay, well, let's have a motion then, since we're making some changes, that I would take auditor, human resource emergency management, VSO, and stay on highway department and the state's attorney, and then Commissioner Frith will be taking county agent. We have a motion accordingly.
So,
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. We have a second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, last on the new business that we have listed, approval of payment to Devils Lake Cars for vehicle for the sheriff's departments.
This is one of the new patrol cars that Sheriff Nelson got approved from us a while back. Back in November.
We actually have it in hand now?
We have it in hand, and Devil Lake's cars would obviously.
They let them.
And Steve's still waiting on the other equipment for it and that kind of thing, but at least we have the vehicle. That stuff has been ordered a couple months ago, and like everything else in this day and age, it's been delayed with delays.
Okay, we have a motion to pay for the car then.
I'd make a motion to pay for the car to Devils Lake Cars.
I'll second it.
Right. Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay Devils Lake Cars $36,056 for a 22 Dodge Durango for the sheriff's departments. Motion and a second we have, correct?
Yes.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
I think we're paying for it, so we should.
Yep.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Yep. Brown,
Aye.
Volk,
Aye.
Frith,
Yeah.
Easep,
Aye.
Lightfoot.
hard, first time I had to do it.
I was like, don't say the wrong name.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, visitors and delegations. Crickets? Crickets. Announcements.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this probably should have been added to the agenda. But I think recognition to our auditor and a big thank you from the commission to Candy for 30 years of dedicated service to Ramsey County. So.
I think the real question is, how did you get a job here when you were like 7 years old?
Yeah,
30 years.
Yeah.
30 to go.
no.
You qualify for the rule of 85, don't you?
Yeah.
So you only have what, 5-6 years?
You don't qualify.
Yeah. 30 years today, 50 years old tomorrow.
You're older than that. That's tomorrow, all the way till tomorrow. Okay.
We're supposed to say that, now we're gonna say, yeah.
Remember that policy got put in? Oh, did you carry over?
But I think some recognition is well deserved.
Really agree.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, thank you.
So Candy, I don't know how to keep our heads on straight sometimes.
I don't know how I do mine.
Lots of notes,
Uh-huh.
copious note taking.
Uh-huh. I always joke with everybody and I say that if the building burns down, I'm never coming back because
You wanna do
I got notes for everything.
All in paper, huh?
Yeah.
Just one question, like region law enforcement, were we supposed to do anything with this?
No, she already paid it.
Oh.
So it's
Okay.
just to.
Okay, it was late here.
Did we pay it on the first meeting of the month?
No, it came later.
We're gonna pay it
Yeah.
next meeting, it's just for informational purposes.
Okay.
Oh, I
You
guess,
wanted to shock us.
maybe I should keep it.
Shocking on.
Yeah, it actually wasn't that bad. I didn't think, but-
Better this
You know,
one.
Ron's figured that somewhere.
Yeah, it does.
I do have one other.
Yes, announcements.
I had end up, talking to Ellen McKay, he talked to me about, that human resource stuff. He did ask a question on once a job closed, if that job got re-advertised, how they want to do for the hiring.
Okay.
Change the way it's set up, or, cause before, how they did it, is it gonna be the same people to do the hiring? He just asked that question, or do we wait until it closes and that we decide it, or?
Well,
I just wanna know, cause he asked me.
I would assume since you're our representative on that board now, that if they would like to have you on the hiring committee, that's how we
Absolutely.
handle it. Of course, we want.
There had to have commissioners, other commissioners, other.
Yeah.
Okay, just
I
so
mean,
you guys are aware that he did ask.
But if, previously, I think that would, if they want you on the hiring committee, of course, yeah, we'd like to have a representative there, obviously.
Just so you guys are aware. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anything else for the good of the order?
One thing that I wanted to mention, just put in the back of your mind, these FEMA disasters usually last about 3 years. That's how many years I got left, so.
Can't leave till we're done, Dan.
Can't leave until they're done.
I'm leaving at the right time, is what you're telling me.
You started the cake, now you gotta finish it.
We got a motion?
I don't know, man, just try to get somebody involved, Chris or somebody, just around, in case it's not over with by the time I leave or something.
Yeah, keep somebody in, keep somebody in the loop so that at least we have some continuity in case it takes that long to get by.
And didn't you start in the big FEMA year?
Yes.
Jumped in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
What year did you start?
97.
That cycle lasted your whole career.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
So what you're telling me is it's gonna get dry again in 3 years.
I hope.
Maybe you brought the water.
One more disaster is enough for me.
87 is the only winter that I remember that was as tough as this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, winters, yes.
A lot of winters.
Started in early that year.
We had 2 or 3 times as much snow.
Yeah, I remember the snow in 97.
There was 5-6 feet out in the open.
Yeah.
But I-
Pushbacks.
Yeah, and I guess I could, our meeting with the outlet advisory committee, we could go, went fine, I mean, it went as expected. you know, the, state does plan on turning the pumps on as soon as conditions allow down the Cheyenne and the Red River. I think there's gonna be a ways to go before that happens, looking at how both those rivers are. So, but I think everybody was in agreement. I think the Water Commission has a meeting on June 7th in Bismarck where they themselves will finalize that, but, the committee members that were present and those online were all in agreement that we're seeing record inflows and they need to be turned on when conditions allow, so. And just some rough estimates, we will probably see a surpass of the 2011 inflows as we continue, which I didn't think I'd ever see again, but, you know, that was just about 600,000 acre feet of water flowing into the lake. And I'm thinking that we will surpass that this year by probably a substantial amount. So, and in 11/9/97 were our record years, and they were all fairly close in that 550,000 range to close to 600,000 range. This one's gonna surpass them all, and I think it's all because of the precipitation. You know, we had 300-400% precipitation normal September through November last year, and then here we had this winter, and then, you know, obviously April was the straw that broke the camel's back, so. Just an FYI. And a water tour, if anybody wants to come on it, we'll schedule that. We have that scheduled for June 15th, Wednesday. Starting out at the Hofstad Egg Center, we'll go around the lake all day, and all commissioners, legislators, and public is welcome to attend. Generally have about a 55 person motor coach that we all people around in. Bring your comforts.
You're gonna have to check the road closure map before you take off.
Well, I was out trying to drive my tour route this morning, and there are some adjustments that I'm making. Motor coaches don't do well on soft gravel roads, so.
Everything's still gonna be probably fairly soft.
Yeah, I can't see things firming up a great deal in a month's time, so.
It's one of those things.
A lot of blacktop, and unfortunately, you can see some things from the blacktop around the Devils Lake Basin, but, and really the nitty gritty is on the back roads. And certainly the drone, Chris and, you know, everybody else that's got these drones out there is providing some absolutely fantastic flood coverage, so we appreciate those guys. But 15th of June, Devils Lake Basin Water Tour, put it on your calendars.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes, anything else? Seeing nothing? Any motion to adjourn? I forget. I'm just gonna adjourn.
You can.
We are adjourned. Robert's rules of order.